Scanning. Identity authorized. Welcome to the Secret Superhero Club Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody, to the Animation Station Podcast, episode 192. My name is Josh, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Mr. Liam DeCoste.
Whoop whoop. Hey, everybody. It's awesome to be back on the show after a 17-year hiatus. It's nice.
I mean, we have Liam on once every 17 years, whenever there's a Star Wars movie, so this will be the last one for the foreseeable future.
I was like, I'm the worst version of leap year. It's like, every once in a while when he comes back around, it's everybody's least favorite part. Oh, there's an extra day? Oh, nice.
So hold on just 1 second. I accidentally unplugged my headphones.
Yay!
So I didn't hear any of that.
Try it again.
Professional.
Hey, everybody has their first time. It's okay.
You know, it's not like we've done 192 other episodes.
No,
but,
no.
Yeah. So Liam. So what do you do now? Like podcast wise.
Oh my gosh! I do a little bit of everything.
You've got your Tottenham Hotspurs podcast, Yid Army.
God. I'm throwing up in my mouth. You say that to me while I'm wearing a West Ham United jersey.
Oh, bro, we're doing Star Wars. I'm wearing a Star Trek shirt, bro.
Oh, nice. So at least we're totally ruining things while we're out and about.
Always.
No, we took a brief hiatus for HYLT Radio because we had a second kid, like a pair of geniuses. So.
Little Eowyn.
Eowyn Margaret was born on October 4th, right here in sunny Central Valley, California. But yeah, since then we took a little bit of a break. Remy and I recorded two, just for fun, just for him and me episodes that I considered releasing. But I was like, well, if it got to the point where we had waited so long that I didn't want it to be like, here's 10 minutes of me and Remy talking about Disney Plus. So we're going to wait until Brittany and I can sit down and do a full-fledged episode, which will probably be in the next day or two. So we'll do our Rise of Skywalker review as well. But I figured we'll do this one. It gets me warmed up. I can talk all the trash I want, and then her and I can be super positive on our show. And I can just blame you for dragging the negativity out of me.
Yeah, because if you guys haven't listened to HYLT Radio, they do Disney, Star Wars, and Marvel. And nothing bad ever comes from Disney, Star Wars, or Marvel. Everything that comes out is the next best thing, and then the next one comes out, and then it is the best thing ever made.
Well, no, because we would have difficulty because for Disney Plus, there were a couple clunkers that came out. So we were definitely like, oh, we'll have to talk about some of the stuff that was no bueno on the service.
I've only watched... Okay, so this is bad. So I've got Disney Plus. I've watched two things on Disney Plus. I've watched The Mandalorian.
As one does.
And then I watched Miracle.
Oh, no way.
Because I was like, I want to watch The Mighty Ducks. And it was like, you can watch Mighty Ducks 2 and Mighty Ducks 3, but Mighty Ducks 1 is on Netflix, so you can't watch that. And I was like, well, I don't want to watch 2 and 3 without watching 1. And then Miracle was right there, and I was like, I guess I'm watching Miracle.
See, what was it? I want to say the first or second night that we had it, I stayed up all night because I watched The Rocketeer, I watched Tron, I watched Three Musketeers. So it was all the 80s and 90s live action shows or movies that I was a huge fan of.
Is it the Leonardo DiCaprio Three Musketeers?
No, this one was the what's his name? Chris O'Donnell. This was the Chris O'Donnell, Oliver Platt, Kiefer Sutherland, and Martin Sheen.
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark. Chris O'Donnell was D'Artagnan.
Oh, of course he was.
Okay.
Yes.
I was going to say, he seems to be the youngest of that group, so D'Artagnan.
Yeah, no, honestly, I remember being super into that movie when I was younger. Watching it now, well, and you also have Tim Curry as the villain. Yeah, and it's fun. It's a romping good time, but I digress. But yeah, no, we will eventually get on with a future episode of HYLT Radio, hopefully this next week. In the meantime, I have been satisfying my podcast craze by appearing on American Hammers TV, and now I head up American Hammers Radio. So I actually do their flagship show. I'm the co-host with another guy here from Fresno that is also a West Ham United fan. And then Tim and I launched a podcast called This Story Sucks. We've only launched 2 episodes so far, but mostly it's him and I pick a topic and we complain about it for about an hour.
Nice.
It's good times.
That's good. Oh shoot, what was so a question, what is West Ham, what do they call themselves? Like what's their...
Well, it's the Hammers or the Irons, because originally when they first founded in 1895, it was called Thames Iron Works. So the crossed hammers is always a throwback to how they originated. And then they changed it from Thames Iron Works to West Ham United. And then they carried on.
Yeah, mine's very dull and boring. It's just the Blues. So
the
it's
Blues.
like
Chelsea.
It's like, Chelsea. Yeah, but I mean, I like Tottenham. I like the Yids.
I was going to say,
the
most
Hotspurs.
people, anybody that I know that likes Tottenham, they're either being facetious because they know I'm a West Ham supporter, or they just like the name. They know nothing of the team. Yeah. They just like the name.
Well, they've got that one kid from the really good forward from Korea.
Son?
Son, yeah.
Yeah,
he's
pretty
really
BA.
good.
No, they're
also
actually
a young team, and I kind of like that.
Right. Well, the what was it? The Chelsea bar that we have here in town. The first game I went to, like with the group of supporters here, the Fresno Irons, was actually at the Chelsea bar, and the Chelsea fans, the supporters, they were all super nice to us. So, like, we chanted and made fun of each other throughout the game, but they were all very hospitable. It was nice.
There's an Irish like pub over here, like in the district here in Irvine. So next time you guys are down, Gavin and I want to try it out, so if you're down, when you guys come back to visit, we'll hit that up. But anyway, let's talk about the Star Wars, because the new Star Wars movie came out.
I'm a big fan of Star Wars. I really like Yodel. I have a tattoo of him on my arm. I also like Gold Robot and also White and Blue Robot that is much shorter. They are a lot of fun.
See, I always get White and Blue Robot and Orange and White Robot mixed up. I can never...
Oh, you mean Soccer Ball Robot?
Soccer Robot.
Soccer Robot. I'm a big fan of Soccer Robot.
Soccer Robot's my favorite robot.
I like in the new movie, now we have JJ voiced Robot. That one was really cute and a lot of fun too.
What's his name? Dio? Is that because he's God?
I thought it was Do. Yeah, Do is really cool. I like Do.
Do.
He's also the adopted son of Soccer Ball Robot, so...
Yeah, I like that. He was like, I brought you into this world.
I have birthed you. I've brought you to life.
Yeah. Okay, so it's...
So let's... I was going to say, we should probably, for those that don't know, Josh is a casual Star Wars fan.
I like the books more than I like the movies.
Yes, and for me, I am an avid Star Wars fan, as obviously I co-host a podcast that talks about it, and I have a full sleeve of tattoos that are all Star Wars themed. So we are going to be coming at this from different perspectives.
I do have one thing that I want to get off my chest with Disney and Lucas right now. So the way that they do their books, which I like their novelizations of the movies 10 times better than the movies themselves. Like the Force Awakens movie is 1,000 times better because, book is better because you get a lot more backstory. And Rey, it's weird. They play her off as almost kind of flirting with Poe. When they first meet, she's like, "Oh, he's very handsome," and you're like, "Oh, really?" She doesn't want to let go of his hand, and you're like, "Okay, Rey, okay."
I see you, girl.
As Finn is bleeding and dying in the bacta tank. So that's going on, and so the way that they do The Force Awakens came out the day of Force Awakens. The Last Jedi book, the day of The Last Jedi. The Rise of Skywalker book doesn't come out until March.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting decision to make.
Huh? Because that's what I was going to spend my day doing yesterday, because I saw it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna download the book and see how it differs from the book. Couldn't do it, and I was like,
Right.
oh, what? That's dumb. Well, that's a stupid thing. Because like there's a lot in this movie that I would like to be like, okay, I want to know how this works, like how this thing, like there's a whole bit in Last Jedi in the book, like there's pirates that go to the planet that Luke is on, and like they're stealing from the other people, like those other, like the nun people.
Oh, the Acto, but that's just a story that Luke tells. They did that in the deleted scenes. Where he tells her that, he tells her that these pirates come and rob and pillage the nuns. She goes to protect them, and it turns out it's just like the men come like to party with like the females. Like that's it.
Yeah, like she runs down the thing and she's like, ah, and they're just like, Luke's just like, yeah, they just do that. Like, but like, I found that out before they did the deleted scenes and stuff like that. So it's like that's why I like the books better. So yeah, Disney, why you wait 4 months? That makes zero sense to me.
I mean, when you figure at that point, because most DVDs / Blu-rays / digital content will come out about 3 months after the release of the film. So I mean, unless they're planning a secondary re-release of like the whole trilogy at once that you can go and pay, to spend your entire day in the theater to watch all 3 movies. That's the only thing that I can think of, is that they're trying to like coordinate with that. Or
maybe they've got a secret ending. Like they've got the ending. By the way, spoilers from here on out for Rise of the Jedi or Rise of Skywalker, where Kylo doesn't save Rey and he just becomes the last one. That would be hilarious. I was kind of like, I saw it Friday at 9 a.m. and then Gavin and I saw it today at 1 p.m. So like I've seen it twice now, which I think is more than I can say in theaters for The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh, so okay. So here's a question. Before again, we are going to talk about Rise of the Skywalker at some point.
Rise of the Skywalker.
It makes more sense to me than just Rise of Skywalker. That doesn't.
No, it's the Rise.
As well.
No, the Rise of Skywalker.
I think they put the in the wrong place.
I think you're in the wrong place.
I am in the very wrong place. We did see two. Two little previews for the new Picard series and one for The Expanse, and I was like, good sci-fi. But anyway,
see, that's funny because I don't. Most Star Wars fans, I don't think we typically consider Star Wars sci-fi. Most people think of it as fantasy or space western.
A lot of people do consider it as sci-fi. They put it in there as sci-fi, and I'm just like, it's not. It's a space opera, like space westerns and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you were to ask like a random person on the street, is this sci-fi? They would just be like, yeah.
They'd be like, I don't like sci-fi.
Yeah, I don't like sci-fi. Do you like Star Wars? Well, yeah.
Yeah. Or even worse, they go, you're like, do you like Star Wars? They're like, no, I don't like sci-fi. You're like, okay, well then you've never seen it. So
yeah.
Conversation over.
They ain't got nothing there.
Right.
But so there's been a lot of people that have been like jumping on this like Last Jedi bandwagon, and I don't get that. Like it's like recently, like I want to say like maybe like a week or so before the movies came out. I don't know. I think JJ did like some interview or something, and he was like, "Oh, the Last Jedi is not bad," and so like all these people like started coming out of the woodwork and being like, "Oh no, Last Jedi." So there's this one guy that I know who's been on the show before. I'm not gonna name names, but he's been on the show before, and he's like, "The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie." And I'm just
was it Gavin?
No. This you've never met this man. He's from Oklahoma. Probably just ruined it. But like he's like, "The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars film," and I'm just like, did we watch the same movie?
You know what though? It's weird because I feel like the initial backlash was a lot of people didn't like The Last Jedi, and those were the loudest voices. But then after a couple weeks or after a couple months, you started to have fairly well known people, at least on Twitter, that were talking about how it was probably their favorite movie since Empire. And at first I was like, oh, well, okay, they're just trolling because they know so many people hate this. So they're just trying to troll those people to have a laugh. But we are years removed from Last Jedi's release at this point, and they're still holding that same stance. I've actually seen people put out, Skywalker Saga in order, like my favorite movies, and Last Jedi has been either the top or the second movie in there, and it's crazy to me. I mean, I'm not saying that people can't have a different opinion.
Oh, no.
But
Yeah.
when you're that wrong, I just don't know. I don't know how to react. No, I'm just kidding. I get it. It's not. I don't know. It didn't really resonate with me as a movie. And as we talk about Rise of Skywalker, I'll kind of dive a little bit more into the reasoning why. At least for me, in the Disney era, Last Jedi would be my least favorite.
Let's okay, so real quick, what would be okay, so we'll just go story-wise. Story-wise, which do you think is the best standalone Star Wars movie? If you were to be like, one movie has the best story, which, because I know which one it is for me. Like, best story-wise, which one do you think has the best story?
Are we talking the entire saga or just the new trilogy?
The entire saga.
So I would say probably with like the entire saga, it's got to be Empire. But I also think that there were more hands on deck for the writing of that one than a lot of the other films. But when you really think about which one can stand alone, right? Like which one can you watch without having to watch any of the rest of the movies? It's A New Hope. I mean, it's the first installment. When George wrote it, when it was actually filmed and put to the screen, there was no guarantee they were going to have any more story to tell after that. Whereas with Empire, it relies on the viewing of A New Hope for you to fully understand who these characters are and why they're in the situation that they're in. And then by the time you get to Return of the Jedi, that one is very reliant on the other two. Mm-hmm. Like you can't just watch Empire and then watch Jedi, or watch A New Hope and then go watch Jedi. There's going to be a whole lot of movie that you're like, I feel like I'm missing something here. So I think the best written Empire, the one that can stand on its own 2 feet completely alone, it's got to be A New Hope. What about for you?
For me, standalone by itself is definitely A New Hope. But I think best story, like how we get from point A to point B, I think it's Attack of the Clones.
Oh God.
Well, I mean, like if you look at Attack of the Clones, you've got an A and a B story plot that go together. It's almost like a Guy Ritchie movie where you have your A and B story that will come together at the end of the movie, and you don't feel like it was rushed how they came together. I love that B storyline of Attack of the Clones, because I would assume the Anakin storyline is the A. Like that B storyline with Boba, as he's like, not Boba, Obi-Wan, he's like, I'm gonna be Detective Obi-Wan. Like Detective Kenobi is like, I would watch that entire series that's just Obi-Wan going around and be like, where is this Camino place? Like, it was deleted from the Jedi archive. Like that, that's what I would love. Like that entire thing, I loved it.
See, I don't know, when I go back and watch
Django.
Like Django's fun. The need to include Boba Fett in a whole new backstory for that character, I think that definitely pulls me out of the story to some degree. The absolute lack of chemistry between Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen is so apparent.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not talking about the acting. I'm talking about written story. I think the story, if you were to have the story, like if you were to read the book, I think Attack of the Clones, the book, is great.
But I think that's where it gets tough, though, is because so much of your ability to appreciate the story is their ability to act it in a manner that is acceptable. And when you have Hayden Christensen, when really, if you take any of the things he says, especially to Padme, like out of context of the movie, you would blow a rape whistle. Like the dude is extremely creepy the entire film. And then Natalie Portman, I don't know why George Lucas gave her the director of like, same line, less emotion. No less. No less emotion. No, this is a piece of cardboard. I need you to give as much emotion as this cardboard is giving. Like it is so dry that for me, hands down, that is the worst Star Wars movie, other than the Clone Wars movie from the TV show that they put out in theaters. Because I actually yelled out in the theater, "This is bullshit," because I was so frustrated with how terrible it was. I mean, yeah, I get it. It got better as the series progressed. But if you watch that movie as a standalone, story-wise, acting, the whole 9 yards, and like rave club Jabba cousin is just awful.
That was Mark Hamill, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know if he voiced Zero the Hutt, but it was pretty bad.
Like, yeah, like it's the acting is bad. I just like the story. I think the story is a good story. Mainly because it's just Ewan McGregor. Anytime that Ewan McGregor is on screen in the Star Wars prequels, I'm like, it's a good movie. It's good so far.
But I think that is like the rose-colored glasses that I have for Phantom Menace. Like Phantom Menace as a story, the execution, the script, there's obviously a lot of opportunities, but I love Liam Neeson. Yeah. So I really don't care what anybody else is doing in that movie because I'm honestly just watching it for Liam Neeson.
But what about
and
Captain
I could say
Panaka?
That on... Oh, well, I mean, obviously also for him. I love the eye
and
patch.
What was the pilot's name?
Which one?
The main pilot.
Which main pilot? Like Anakin?
No.
The little boy that flies the Naboo starfighter?
No. The other guy who, the one that they rescue who flies the stupid silver plane.
Oh,
I can't remember his name.
The one that's in the coat. The one that has the brown coat.
Boy.
Damn it, I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I'll remember Captain Panaka till the day I die.
Right.
Whose name I think was said once.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. No, I'm trying to think what that guy...
Was it like Wes something?
No. It's like... Oh, well. Anyways, moving along.
Yeah.
So yeah,
along.
I think... Oh, well, no, I get what you're saying is like having that story come together. So when you're thinking of that story, you think of Attack of the Clones and you think of Empire Strikes Back as probably the most accepted, as the greatest Star Wars film. How did you feel story-wise... how the Rise of Skywalker is stacking up against some of the previous stories that we've seen?
Honestly, this was my favorite of the new trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it was. It was Rick Oley.
There you go.
He was my. Yeah. I mean, honestly, this is my favorite of this new trilogy. Like, if I was to rank them, it would go Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens, and then Rogue One. No, just kidding. Rogue One would be 2. I like The Last Jedi. Like that movie. My problem with that movie is you have your 2 storylines, and one storyline does absolutely nothing. You start the Finn, and I guess technically, you have 3 storylines if you count whatever Poe and Laura Dern are doing. As a story, but which I did like that they kind of reference that and almost kind of like make fun of it in this movie with Dominic Monaghan. They're like, we should get that guy from Lord of the Rings, but no, it's JJ.
No, he's in Lost.
Yeah.
He's in Lost.
He's like he puts his hand up to the thing and it's like not Solo's boat. That would be funny. But no, like. You've got that whole bit in, I don't know, everyone like Canto Bop. Yeah, it's bad. But like the whole bit with Finn and Rose, it starts off, they don't do what they set out to do. It goes terribly wrong. They don't get the same they don't get who they're supposed to get. They get a stuttering Benicio del Toro, who is not a good character.
Who they don't try to bring back in Rise of Skywalker.
They have this character, and it's like, oh, he may be the hacker that we want. We're going to assume he's the hacker that we want, even though obviously he's not. Then it's like, he's going to get us into this thing. And then, but we're not going to be able to get the thing that we want to get. So the whole entire reason we go to this Star Destroyer is to get these codes. We don't even get these codes. And then we get captured. And then Benicio just like, I'm taking my money and running. And then nothing happens. Like, the entire plot means nothing. And then at the end, they're like, okay, I guess we just get back on the shuttle and go home. it doesn't do anything. Like, they literally start and end their entire story before they get to that stupid red-white planet doing Crate doing absolutely nothing. Well, and that irritated the crap out of me. It's like, you guys did nothing. Like, if this would have been like Poe and Finn, it would have at least been maybe enjoyable. But this, like, none of it was enjoyable. We were just like throwing stuff in so we could throw stuff in, and it none of it clicked. Like, to me, it was bad writing. It was bad everything. It slowed the movie down, not as much as Poe and Holdo.
Laura Dern, yeah.
That was the worst. Like, that was just like, please, like, take me now. Like, if I go in this theater, it'll be okay because I don't have to watch any more of this.
Well, but I think that's what was so tough, is because so much of this sequel trilogy has been mirrored in what we saw with the original trilogy, right? Like, A New Hope in comparison to Force Awakens, like, there's a lot of similarity. When you think of Empire Strikes Back and Last Jedi, you know, you've got Luke went and trained on Dagobah. Rey goes and trains on Ecto. You've got the little side mission of, oh, hey, here's Leia and Han and Chewie and 3PO and R2. They're going to go fly through this asteroid field, and then eventually they're going to end up on Cloud City. And then with this one, it was like, oh, but instead we're going to introduce Rose Tico, and her and Finn are going to go to Canto Bight on, like you said, this mission that ultimately they have no value. I mean, I get the point of trying to show that the galaxy still continues on regardless of the outcome of the Empire, the First Order and the Resistance, because here are a bunch of wealthy, billionaire shipbuilders or whatnot, the people that own the shipyards at Fondor, like, and Kuat, like, who knows. But here you have these people that are completely unaffected by the war, and that you're trying to reinforce to Finn, who has been this, I'm trying to escape, I'm trying to get out of here, I'm not a resistance fighter, I'm just trying to get as far away from the First Order as possible. You're trying to reinforce in him a reason to fight. And I get it. I get that was the whole impetus behind going to Canto Bight. I think there was a smarter way of going about that. Or you could have had where initially maybe Rey is his reason to fight. He just is trying to protect Rey, which is why when he wakes up, he goes, Rey, and smashes his face on the freaking, plexiglass or the plasteel. So it's, I get the shouts for why that's in there. I think it could have been done better, but just like in Force Awakens, where in Act 2 they had the whole Rathtar escape inside the carrier ship, was, to me, the weakest moment in all of Force Awakens, and you basically did the same thing in Last Jedi. The benefit of this is that in Rise of Skywalker, they really didn't do that. There really wasn't the Act 2, something is happening that has absolutely no impact or value to the story. My main thing was that the start of the movie is with the light speed skipping as they're going from planet to planet to planet to planet. Like, visually, yeah, that's cool. And yes, we get to see a whole bunch of planets, and now TIE fighters have light speed engines, which is interesting.
I was like, you shouldn't have any sort of light speed capabilities.
They're short-range fighters, and especially if now you've got the same size cockpit, but it is accommodating 2 pilots, because now you have a pilot and a gunner in there. There's absolutely no room for a light-speed engine, but you could make the same argument that an X-Wing, a Y-Wing, and especially an A-Wing shouldn't have sublight engines as well, but they do. So, regardless, it's Star Wars.
The B-Wing.
Right. I love the B-Wing.
I know, it's a lovely little... I did like that one of them gets its head shot off. Like, yes. Like right when it's like, poo, and you're like, oh... Well, welcome.
I like in the expanded universe that Wedge Antilles and Tycho Celchu talk about B-Wings are not as enjoyable to fly because the ship rotates on a cowl around the cockpit, so it's more like driving than it is flying. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. That's like a different concept
that's where they should have had Jason Statham.
Right? Because, you have him in one B-Wing, and then you have The Rock in another B-Wing, and they just look at each other and give each other a thumbs up.
Would they split off like later on?
I'm totally into that. But yeah, no, but I almost feel like that beginning sequence of Rise of Skywalker was kind of setting us up for the rest of the film, right? Where all the way until probably almost the middle of Act 2, it felt like we were trying to move at breakneck speed because JJ was trying to fit 2 movies into one. Like, he was like, let me set up all the things I want to set up so I can have my big payoff in Act 3, which was great because we got the payoff in Act 3. But I did feel it was frenetic trying to get through Act 1 and then really into a good part of Act 2 until it really, I think it started to slow down maybe when Rey gets to Act 2. And, or no, probably when they're over on Kijimi.
Yeah.
When it's like the group of them, I'd say that's when it slows down, especially with like Poe on the rooftop with Zori. I felt like that's when we started to catch our breath. We kind of got into the, okay, they're on their little side mission that this is going to be the setup for the big payoff. But everything leading up to that point, I almost forgot it, to be honest, because it was just so rushed.
He had to fill in a bunch of time because, I mean, there was none of that in The Last Jedi. Like, how much time did Luke spend training Rey?
Oh, I'd say it was at least an hour and a half.
Like, yeah, the entire, and you're just like, yeah, she was there for like 6 days, and he trained her for maybe like 45 minutes. And it's like, all right.
Because he was either sleeping, fishing, or milking sea cows, or whatever they were supposed to be.
Like, so like, he had to be like, no, look, Rey has been training. She's been being taught by Leia. I have to show this so that way you don't think she's just been, sitting on her laurels. Right.
And it was a nice nod to Leia having it be that, okay, especially with the force back that Luke does later, where he shows him training her, like with her lightsaber and everything. It really did give that, okay, well, she got the proper training, developed her skills. It makes sense why she was able to do what she did in The Last Jedi, but then she made a choice that it was more important for her to lead a resistance than to be a Jedi, because she was fine with letting Luke be the Jedi. I thought that was dope. I thought that was a nice little...
I did like that Disney was like, we're not going to CG Carrie Fisher, and then they were like, but...
We will CG a young Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, it's like, this will be Princess Leia, not Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, this is a young one. But I thought they did it tasteful. I thought some of the dialogue seemed odd, because obviously they only had certain lines that Carrie had obviously recorded.
They kept doing that over the back shot too. They were like, no, look, this person is talking this, but like, you don't have to show that. You can just show, like, if you're gonna have Rey and the insert of Carrie Fisher talk to each other, you can do that. You don't have to show Carrie Fisher in the shot with Rey. Yeah. Like, you don't need to show the back of Carrie Fisher's head.
Yeah,
like,
no,
that's
not
all right.
at all.
You can take that out. Like, you can just show Rey.
Well, they did one where she like turned and she's all like in shadow because it's when she was going to project to Kylo Ren, and like even with that one, it was like, okay. I mean, I get it. They wanted to make it seem like it wasn't forced. They wanted to have a send off, which I kind of wish that they had done a send off in Last Jedi instead. I feel like the send off with this one seemed less impactful until Chewbacca broke down. When Chewie breaks down, that's when my eyes welled up with tears, because you understand the impact for the people within the film that knew her best. Like, Han's gone, Luke's gone, Lando, obviously it's not like he was going to feel it in the Force or anything at that point, but for her to go, and then when Chewbacca finds out about it, that was pretty heart-wrenching.
I thought it was kind of weird that Chewbacca felt more of like, was like sad when Leia dies, but like when Han, dies, he's just like, I'm just gonna walk this one off, guys. No,
dude, he shoots the dude's son. Like, he's so pissed that you just killed my best friend.
But he doesn't like break down or anything. Like, oh, speaking of Chewie, to me, I think he should have died in the transport.
No,
only because if Chewie dies in that transport, you have Rey feeling that she can lose control at any moment and kill somebody. So that will make her like kind of keep her in that almost dark side path to where you're thinking throughout the movie, it's like, maybe she could go. I mean, maybe if she lets herself into this anger, because you kind of see it in a few places where, she's letting the anger get the better of her, and it's like, oh, no. Okay, I got to bring myself back. Like, if that would have happened and she would have actually killed Chewbacca, that would have been like, oh, snippety snaps. Because, I mean, when Chewbacca dies in the books, it's just kind of like, oh, man, Chewbacca just died. Like,
nah, it was super impactful because he dies trying to save Anakin Solo.
Yeah, it's impactful, but I mean, like, you kind of don't see it coming. You're like, okay,
right.
yeah, they can get him out. Like Jason, and like it'll be okay. They can get something, and he'll be all right. They'll be able to get him back. And then they're like, no, we got to take off, and they have to leave Chewie on the planet, and it blows up, and you're like, oh man, they lost Chewie. Like, it's definitely impactful. I think it would have been impactful in this as well if they would have done it.
But I think it needed to be like if you're gonna have Chewie's death. I think maybe it's just because I'm blinded because of the books. But when you see Han in the books like fall into drink and despair, like he won't talk to or even acknowledge Anakin, like his third child, because he blames him for Chewbacca's death. But ultimately, you find out.
Yeah, sorry, I got my kids mixed up.
No, yeah, there was Jason and Jaina are the twins, and then Anakin's the youngest of the three. But Han. Like, he's blaming Anakin, but then it's ultimately you find out it's just that he blames himself because he feels like he should have been able to save Chewie. Yeah. So I get that, but because you've already got Han and Luke are dead and now Leia finally dies, I'm glad we were able to see Chewie's reaction to that instead of like, oh well, Chewie's already dead, so we'll never know how he would have reacted to Leia's passing. So I think you needed to have that moment, and later on there's another moment for Chewie that I think was a nice little fan service as well that I liked.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, when he gets the medal,
heck yeah,
like,
dude.
Bro didn't get a medal in the first movie. Let's give him one now. But here's the thing, like, if you Leia was holding on to that medal this entire time. She could have given that to him. I was talking to Gavin and Charlie because I was like, Leia was like, Chewie can have this when he pries it from my cold, dead hands.
Well, that I actually assumed it was like Han's medal or something.
Yeah, I think it was.
You know what I mean? So she was like giving like, oh, well, this should go to Chewie because Han would have wanted him to have it since we totally were specious and we didn't give him give him a freaking medal. Man. Sorry, Chewie, these are only for the humans.
And then like when he when she dies, it takes another alien to give him the medal.
Maz Kanata's like, we finally stole this from the humans.
We did it, Chewie. We've
done it together. Well, she's got to give it to her boyfriend, so it makes sense.
There was a lot of celebrating between Chewbacca and Maz Kanata that night.
Finally
got his medal.
Pedal to the medal.
Another one that I thought was a little bit weird that they could have done a send-off to that they didn't do was 3PO. They're setting this up. They're literally playing T-ball with us. They're putting the ball on the tee.
Yeah.
They're like, R2, if I don't come back, you've been my best friend. And then he's like, I'm just gonna take one last look at my friends. And then he gets rebooted, and like he says the message, and then he's done. And you're just like, oh snap! Like 3PO dead. Like they're done with 3PO. And then they're like, oh no, we're just kidding. He's back, but he doesn't know anybody. And I was like, okay.
And you're like, oh, that's sad, but not really, because he's just going to learn them.
Exactly.
Now.
I was like, okay, maybe this will be a thing. He'll meet R2 for the first time. Then R2's like, nah, I'm just kidding. Here you go. Here's all your memories back, except from, Last Jedi. You can't have those memories back. And I'm just like, really? You set it up to try and pull at our heartstrings. You pulled at those heartstrings, and then you were just like, JK, like,
well, but it's tough too though, because when you think about it, like that is literally the only other thing that R2 did the entire movie. Like other than in the beginning when Finn plugs that little thing in as they're getting the message from Mark Hamill's character, his alien Skip's character. Like when they plug that into R2 and they're like, just another minute. And then he gets the coordinates for the holocron and then they zip off. And like, that was it for R2 until he's like, oh, by the way, here's all your memories back. So I'm kind of with you. I was kind of hoping that it would be, 3PO, they wipe his memory. He translates the Sith message and then he's done. And that's it. And like, literally, I think it would have been dope if they were like, all right, well, we can't carry him with us, so we're going to leave him here for parts.
We have to leave him here.
Yeah.
And then, then they could have brought him back later, like during the thing, be like, oh yeah, by the way, we were able to Zori's like, well, no, I think it's just Zori and what's his name? The little engineer guy, the hacker.
Oh, Baba Ganoush.
Yeah,
it's Babu Frick.
Yeah, so like it's just like her and Babu.
Which is interesting because the voice of Babu Frick was Shirley Henderson. She's Gale in Trainspotting. She's also Moaning Myrtle in the Harry Potter series.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I had to look it up because I was like, oh, I wonder if they just had like somebody random in the cast.
So hold up,
voice Babu, but it was legitimately like we're gonna hire somebody specific for this.
So does that mean they've had 3 people from Trainspotting be in Disney
Star Wars
movies?
Yeah,
because like they got Ewan, they've got her,
yep.
And then they've got the one girl who plays Merida. She's the one that Ewan McGregor hooks up with in Trainspotting.
Yeah.
The like 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm still in primary, and you're like, what?
But at the same time, you're also like, oh, I guess they're Scottish, right? So it's fine.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
don't know.
I think it's okay. Yeah. So there were definitely those parts that I was like, it would have been so cool. But it's just that Disney thing where they're like, we're not actually gonna. They'll kill parents, but like other people, they're like, nah, we're not gonna kill those people. We're just gonna wait on it.
Yeah, we'll hold off on these ones for now, but we'll get there. Don't you worry, we'll get there.
Kelly
MacDonald, by the
MacDonald.
way. Yep.
We met. We did meet. What's her face? The girl that with the other deserters. I can't remember her name.
Oh, Jenna.
Yep. Again, one of those like she says her name to Poe, but it's one of those where it's like it's not like really in scene. Like Poe's walking off, and she's like, "I'm Jenna. I'm Poe. You got any parts?" And it's like, say these people's names. Like it's okay to say their names.
Right. Well, you would.
Hi, Brittany.
Oh.
Hi.
She's just waving as she walks through the background. No, and I think that's kind of the same problem we had to some degree with The Last Jedi, where it's like, we're going to introduce these characters, and you're like, cool, are they going to be really impactful? They're like, kind of, not really. Like, because we look at it was like with Holdo, and that was my biggest complaint in Last Jedi, was that you introduce a character who obviously, is a very renowned actress, somebody that you would have thought would have been very impactful to the story.
She's a plant scientist.
Yeah, well, she's a botanist, and she did phenomenal work in Jurassic Park. But there's, it's what she did as a character. You easily could have had Admiral Akbar do.
Yeah.
And it would have been an established character that when he died, turning the ship around and slamming it into, the First Order ship, we would have felt his loss because it was a character that we were emotionally invested in. With Janna, like, I liked her as a character. Like, I thought that, like her introduction felt a little bit weird, if you will. But ultimately, like, I don't think she distracted or minimized her involvement in what was happening. Yeah. But when you get to the point where they're doing the infiltration with the weird horse creatures, like on the outside of the Star Destroyer, like there wasn't when her and Finn are the last ones left as the ship's going down, I'm concerned for Finn, but for her, I'm kind of like, well, yeah, I don't want to see her die, but if she does, I'm not going to be like, oh no,
yeah, I'm
crushed forever. Like I'm not invested in this character because she's only been around for 38 seconds. And kind of the same thing with Rose Tico is like, hey, let's build up this character. We're going to make you really care about her. But now it's the Rise of Skywalker and she's in about 7 seconds of the film. So same thing, like, oh no, they're shooting at Rose. You're like, okay.
Billy Lord wasn't in this movie that much either. And I was kind of like, she should be in this movie a lot more. Yeah,
I thought that they would have kind of upped her screen time, but I guess
they gave all that to Dominic Monaghan, and I'm like, just don't put Dominic Monaghan in it. Make him a pilot or something.
I think to this one it was very much a JJ was going to bring his friends that wanted to be in a Star Wars movie, so he's like, all right, yeah, come on in. I mean, to be fair, for me, I was super excited to see John Williams as like a bartender in Kijimi.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty dope.
I like how
Freaking Dennis Lawson, who was Wedge Antilles in the original trilogy. Like, you see him.
I did like how
awesome.
they were like, okay, so these people aren't going to know that this is Wedge if we have a helmet on him. So have
Let's take the helmet off.
I'm like, bro, like, that seems very unsafe. How are you talking?
Why? Honestly, I would have just had him flying his X-Wing and been Rogue Leader. Like, all he needed to be was, Rogue Leader or Rogue One. That would have been fine.
Be like, oh, snap. Like, we would have got it.
But I mean, like, I guess, like Lin-Manuel Miranda cameoed as a Resistance trooper. Jeff Garlin and Kevin Smith also had cameos in the film.
Wasn't Carl Urban was somewhere too?
Yeah, I mean, and you bring back Warwick Davis as the brief Wicket cameo as well. So I mean, I get it. It was some fan service. It was when all the Jedi that still live within Rey, you hear Hayden Christensen, you hear Ashley Eckstein, Jennifer Hale, Samuel Jackson, Ewan McGregor, Freddie Prinze Jr., yeah, Alec Guinness, Liam Neeson, Frank Oz. Like, you hear everybody that has ever played a Jedi or a speaking role as a Jedi in the film, and I thought that was really cool to do little things like that. But I get how people felt that this film was kind of bursting at the seams with all the things that were trying to be crammed in there just for the sake of having it.
Yeah. It's definitely, when people say like it was rushed, I'm like, I can totally understand that. There are definitely parts where like it's rushed. Overall, like, I really enjoyed this movie. It had the humor parts that needed to be humorous. I guess that's all like all the humor scenes were all with Oscar Isaac. He's like
over
the comedy
top
in this movie.
Right, but it was way more measured in this film than it was in Last Jedi.
Yes.
Because like, when you think of when we really first meet Poe and he does do you talk first or do I talk first? Like, I died. I thought that line was so funny. But then by the time we get to Last Jedi, I thought I was watching an episode of Family Guy. Like, it was just almost too much humor, and to the point where it didn't feel organic to the story itself. And I'll be honest, when Luke is raising Red 5 out of the water, I legitimately thought he was going to like falter to like try to freak her out. Like, oh, I'm going to drop the ship, because that would have been par for the course with the Luke that we saw in Last Jedi. That he was like, let me do a fart joke once I'm done with this one.
Yeah,
but
I'm
the fact
goofy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm a crazy old Jedi. But the fact that like they kept it honest to the importance of what was happening. The fact that he was resurrecting his old starfighter and that she was going to have to pilot it, like, to have that moment for me was incredibly important, because I think back to A New Hope, and him in Red 5 is iconic, So I'm glad that JJ did keep a little bit more of a rein on what he did in terms of the implementing, comedic parts in the film.
I'll say one thing, like, props to Kylo for, like, I guess fixing a TIE fighter that had been not used for 20 plus years. Yeah. One that definitely does not have any sort of like hyperdrive or anything in it, was able to fly through there, and without the little Jedi thing, able to go in and remember the path through that nebula thing and make it back. I'm like, good for you, Kylo. We forget that you're like the son of a fantastic pilot and mechanic. Right.
Well, and it's, when you think about, for both of them as characters, I thought that JJ did a great job kind of showcasing their abilities in a way that complemented the characters and added to the story. I mean, it would have been very easy to do the healing sequences that Rey was able to do and do it in a way that felt forced, haha. But I liked the utilization of that, especially the callback in Act 3, where, Ben, because he's Ben Solo at that point, like him having to do that to her after she had healed him on Endor, like on the wreckage of the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really cool. I thought utilizing those kind of things, the fact that she used, as you alluded to earlier, she used Force lightning accidentally, trying to wrestle away the First Order transport from Kylo. I thought that was dope as well, and it very much leaned into her lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Which even the payoff on that, I didn't feel like it was out of the blue, because people had been
I was all in the she's a clone.
I was definitely on that, especially in the beginning when we see the extra the extra bodies of Snoke. Like I was like, oh, it's so gross but awesome. But yeah, I mean, people thought like, oh, maybe this is Palpatine. Not that he was pulling the strings, but that it actually was Palpatine just utilizing a different name, and he's all scarred up because he fell down a freaking reactor shaft. Yeah. Like, I think that would have still worked for the story, but I loved that it was, here's, the son of Skywalker, the grandson of Skywalker, and here's the daughter of Palpatine, or granddaughter of Palpatine. Like, I thought that was really cool to have that tie-in from the, Episode 1, where here we have Palpatine manipulating, a Skywalker, and then at the end we have Palpatine manipulating a Skywalker. Like he is the driving force. Well, but Kylo Ren is still, Skywalker blood. Right. He's still the grandson of Anakin Skywalker, the son of Leia Skywalker, Organa Solo. But I don't know. I really like that. I thought that it was great utilization. I thought it was a great payoff. We kind of assumed people were gonna be divided for the Reylo kiss.
I loved it. Like there were people that were like, I don't understand it. Why did they do that? And I'm like, guys, there was sexual tension all throughout Last Jedi. Like, those were the only, like, to me, those are the only redeeming bits about Last Jedi are the Rey and Kylo scenes.
Oh, 100%. Their force bridge between the two of them, one, it's an awesome power for them to utilize. And then the callback in this film where they utilize it in the fact that, when they do the battle where she's in his quarters on the Star Destroyer and he's down on the surface of Kijimi, and they're bouncing back and forth.
There's one of those scenes is my favorite scene, like, in the entire trilogy. There's a scene in there where it's very seamless. Like, it's like because in that scene she's in his room and he's on the planet, and there's a part where like they're switching sides, so like he's in his room and she's on the planet, and she walks, it's snowing, she walks from the planet into the room, and it's so seamless. And I'm just like, that shot, like, how did you guys put like that set on that other set and just have her walk through? Because it's perfect. It was so good. I was like, it's so good. Like,
what I really liked about that as well is that we had the setup in Last Jedi. Was that?
Oh yeah, sorry. We're getting kind of off kilter. But no, I just said I really like that shot.
Oh yeah, no, same. And it's, when we have the tie-in later where, obviously he's unarmed facing down the Knights of Ren, and, she takes the one lightsaber, puts it behind her back, and then he pulls it out. Oh my God, that moment, I was just like, oh, it's so good. So I think that's the thing. Like, we spent a good amount of time kind of pointing out some of the opportunities, some of the flaws in this film, but I think the parts that are good drastically outweigh the parts that were a little cringy, or the parts that you were like, well, that could have been done better, executed better, or that character probably wasn't necessary to further the plot of the film. And I think with Last Jedi, I don't think that it's the negative outweighs the positive. I think that it's a zero sum. Yep. When it's all said and done, like, everything that was good was balanced out by everything that was bad. And I think that's why that film is so divisive. I think with this one, I don't know if it's just people are carrying over their resentment for Last Jedi and they're just attributing it to this movie as well. Or, like I was texting Manoa and he was kind of like, hey, I'm glad it's over. Like, he very much just seemed resigned to like, no, it was good, but I'm just glad I don't have to see these characters anymore. And I was like, holy crap, man, that was like a a very awakening moment for some people.
And I've seen a lot of like the, especially, recently, like these people that are like, The Last Jedi is the best. Like now they all hate this film. And I'm like, but this fixed all of the problems from the last film. But they wanted it to be more of The Last Jedi, because The Last Jedi was such a deviation from Force Awakens, and everything we thought they were going to do, they did the opposite. Like there's a meme that Patrick showed me where it's from A New Hope, where Princess Leia is doing the help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And then it's a picture of Obi-Wan just saying no. And then it says written and directed by Rian Johnson. And you're like, yeah, I mean, that's ultimately, his tactic when he approached Last Jedi is everything he wanted to do, everything the audience wanted him to do, he wanted to go the opposite way with it. And I remember on HYLT Radio, Brittany and I joked about Luke taking the lightsaber and throwing it over his shoulder. And then they literally did that in the movie. And it was funny at the moment, but then after a while I was like, yeah, but I joked about that because I thought it would be so dumb for him to do it. So who as a director would sit there and go, it would be awesome? You listen to this. Like, that's just, I don't know. It felt like he was trying to give two fingers up to the audience. And I liked that JJ is so many complaints that people had with that. They were accusing Rian Johnson of not being a Star Wars fan, but I think Rian Johnson was too much of a Star Wars fan that he was trying different. Yeah, he wanted to do something different. Whereas JJ was like, I'm fine being a Star Wars fan and doing all the things that Star Wars fans want to see. And I think Gareth Edwards was kind of the same thing with Rogue One. He almost leaned a little bit too much into the fan service, and that's why they had to do some course correction to come back in and do reshoots. So I think, I don't know, with this one, it gave me the payoff. It gave me the lightsaber battles. It gave me the starship fights. It gave me, multiple planets, multiple creatures that played larger roles, and it wasn't just a whole bunch of humans all the time. And we get a little bit of a love story, and, at the end of the day, the Jedi defeat the Sith. That's, what more can you ask for in a Star Wars film? Both of the Jedi, there being no Jedi or Sith, hence balance to the Force, because there can never be balance to the Force if there's just Jedi or just Sith. Like, you wipe both out, balance.
What would you have rather seen? Like, ultimately, and I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but would you have rather seen where everybody dies, or would you rather see it where Rey and Kylo adopt that there is a middle ground between just doing what Luke wanted and just doing what Palpatine wanted? That there needs to be that balance where the idea of a gray Jedi.
Yeah, I think the balance was Ben. Like, Ben was the balance, because he was good, went evil, and then came back good. So he knows exactly where that line is. So that's why I think we talked about it. I don't know if we put that in the thing or not, but because we were talking about the book. If they did a special thing and there was alternate ending, Rey dies and it's Kylo, I could see that happening too, where Kylo's listen, I can train this next generation of Jedi, because we've already shown that there's other ones out there. There's Broom Kid. So I can show, right. I can train this other group to literally be the middle, because I can teach them the good and the bad. These are both.
But don't you think that to some degree Rey can do that just as easily? Because
she never went to the dark side, though. She doesn't have that experience.
But she was exhibiting some pretty dark side powers, i.e. Force lightning. You know what I mean? She definitely was hell-bent on revenge at that one point when she thought she had killed Chewbacca. So, they talk about her showing her fear, right? Her fear of her past, her trying to run from the responsibility of being a Jedi when she first holds the Skywalker lightsaber. So I think there is a lot of allusion to the idea that she is a conflicted character. And to some degree, when she quote unquote dies and then Ben Solo uses the Force to resurrect her, I looked at it to some degree that he was putting his life force into her, similar to what Palpatine did by draining the life force out of Padme and putting it into Anakin to keep him alive. Because ultimately he needed Anakin alive and definitely did not need Padme there. Yeah. And if anything, he knew Padme's death would drive Anakin further into the dark side. So I think it's a callback to some degree of that theory that it was Ben Solo putting his Force essence into Rey. Thus, she is a Skywalker because she has the spirit of the last Skywalker within her.
Okay, so you know what I want now? So I want alternate ending. They both live. Like, he brings her back, they make out. It's a fun time for everybody. Then they go and they bring about the new Jedi Temple. Rey can be headmistress. Kylo teaches defense against the dark side. And, and they sort them into cool little Jedi houses. And then, yeah, I think that would be pretty cool.
I feel
now
like that's a story we've seen before, though. So it feels so familiar.
Did you like Defense Against the Dark Side? Because I
did. As soon as you said defense, I was like, oh, here we go. No, I honestly, I think and it's tough because you and I both read the books. So we know that there's a lot of story that can be mined when it comes to, the New Jedi Order, right? Mm-hmm. Or the Jedi Academy series, like the Young Jedi Knight series. So I think there is a lot of opportunity that they can look to the further down the road. But as we've seen with The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, that they're not afraid to dive into a little bit more of the folklore and trying to expand a little bit more of the world base. So I fully expect, as much as we've got The Mandalorian and here's your space western episodic TV show, I think we get a Jedi show. I think we eventually get to the point where maybe it isn't Rey teaching the New Jedi Order, but maybe it is, 50 years, 100 years down the line where the Jedi Order has been reestablished and they are peacekeepers of the galaxy. But the only problem with that is if you do that story, you're basically setting yourself back up for the prequels again.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, when there inevitably becomes too many Jedi, you're going to have Sith to balance that because there has to be balance to the Force. Right now, like, yeah, you've killed the Emperor Palpatine. There's going to be another Sith that rises. There's always going to be a dark side to balance out the light. So I don't know, maybe 5 years, 10 years down the road, they do episode 10, 11, and 12, but they build up that anticipation. They let the actors age a little bit and they can, have that time jump where, okay, now we're going to put them in this situation and how do they handle that?
Do you think that, to me from my reading, like, I felt a lot of like Jason and Kylo similarities, like when he was
sure
Darth
Darth
Caedus, there was a lot of those similarities, and I do like that Kylo actually got more of a redemption arc than Jason did, because Jason, like, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I read these, but Jason, he's fighting Janna and she's about to beat him. And then, like, he comes back to the light. And he's just like, oh, man, I'm back. I've done terrible things. And then she just kills him. And you're like, bruh.
Ooh.
Like, he literally was back. Like, he's like, hey, Janna, I'm sorry. Like, I did bad things. And she's like, "Ugh." And you're like, oh, okay.
But you also have to remember, he killed Mara Jade. Like, he killed their uncle, their aunt, like their uncle's wife. Like, Luke Skywalker's wife was
to be fair,
murdered
he
by their
killed a
nephew.
lot of people.
No, for sure. But, like, how do you... But I think that even with Jaina, like, she's battled with the dark side. During the invasion of the Yuuzhan Vong, there was the point in time where she was falling to the dark side as well, because she felt like that was the only way they were going to be able to beat them, was to utilize dark side powers. So it's, I don't know. I think to me, I was definitely caught off guard by that. I was kind of caught off guard with him going to the dark side anyways.
Yeah,
because he always struck me as like the wimpier of the two twins.
It was one of those, like, he was kind of like almost like semi-controlled, right? By what's her face that he met in like Young Jedi
Tenel
Knights.
Ka. Yeah, Tenel Ka. Yeah.
So like he kind of was like, unfortunately, he was kind of like stuck.
Yeah, and I mean, she was more her father, right? Yeah. Like, she was the Han Solo of the two of them, so she was more fun. She was the mechanic. She was the better pilot, and he could talk to animals. He was the Dr. Dolittle of the Star Wars universe. So he was never going to be on the same level as her. And then with Anakin, the younger brother, like, because he had that name to live up to, he was always going to be a more interesting character because he was born with this weight on his shoulders that Jason and Jaina were never going to have. They were never going to fully understand that. And if I remember correctly, Anakin dies saving his siblings.
Yes.
And like literally he dies not because he's killed, but because he exhausts so much force power, he becomes one with the force.
Yeah.
He ultimately fades just the same way that Ben Solo does, where Ben exhausted himself with the force. He didn't die from wounds that were inflicted. He died from utilizing the force beyond his capacity, just like his uncle, just like his mom.
Yeah, because like Jason was like the turn was coming back to the light side after he had his daughter, right?
For Jason,
Yeah, because like he marries what's her name? The
Tenel Ka.
Yeah, he marries her, and they have a daughter, and then that's kind of when like her safety is kind of threatened. Like I think that's when you start seeing the turn where he's not like fully being like as evil as he used to be.
Right.
And then, anyway, so stuff that no longer exists canonically.
Right. But when you think about it, there's so much story that you can mine. There's so many
so much
characters. And it's not that you have to introduce Jason and Jaina solo. I'm not saying that, but like you can take some of these storylines, and we would love to see them either as films, either as television series on Disney Plus. I don't think I need any more animated shows when it comes to Star Wars. I'm totally fine with waiting a couple years and getting a badass live action Jedi show. I'm fine with that.
I don't want any more Jedi for a while. Give me a Republic Commando show. You give me a Republic Commando show that's basically just like SEAL Team 6. It's just like, give me that. I'll be happy as pie. Like,
we're gonna get the Cassian Andor series, which is gonna be him and K2SO. So there's that, and
but we know
obviously
that they die.
it's for sure. So, and you know me, I'm very hesitant to put characters in a story where the stakes are never going to be that high, because there's never going to be a point where they die, but the people around them obviously could be killed at any moment. And especially knowing that Cassian is kind of a dick because he has done terrible things. We've seen him murder people on his own side to be able to escape. I think there is a lot of there's a lot of story. It's a very interesting backlog that we can explore with him as a character.
I would also Poe and Zori. Like if you give me like a Poe and Zori like Fast and Furious, like we smuggle spice type of show.
Yeah.
Like give me that. I would watch that every day.
Did you play Jedi Fallen Order at all?
That's the new one, right?
Yeah, the newest one that came out.
have it. I haven't played it. I bought the new Xbox One X because they had a ridiculous sale at Target for Black Friday. So I got that. It's downloaded. I haven't played it though. I just beat it literally last night. Like I'm hesitant because I do like that they got Jerome from Gotham.
From Gotham,
I do like that, but like I'm hesitant because I'm like I hate Jedi. Like I've never liked Jedi. Like,
see what's kind of cool about this is the storyline. Yeah, but the storyline for this one literally takes place just like a couple years after Revenge of the Sith. So it's after Order 66 has happened. So all the Jedi have been purged for the most part. And here's a kid who was a Padawan that is in hiding, and he's forgotten because of the trauma of the purge. He's actually forgotten majority of his force powers. So the force powers that he does still have, he has to hide it because he knows if he exhibits anything, the Empire will find him. And they tie in like the Night Sisters and whatnot that we saw from the
Rebels
Star Wars Rebels. So, but I like it because it is a very self-contained story. There are obviously, events that happen that you're like, oh, this is really cool, but it doesn't affect the canon beyond that.
Yeah.
So I like that. If you're going to do Jedi stories, but have them be self-contained, I'm okay with it.
Give me Star Wars Lost Stars, like an actual, like, it could be a limited series because, it's only one book. Give me 9 episodes. I'm done. I'm good. Like,
nice.
Like that's my favorite of the new Star Wars books. Because it's basically Romeo and Juliet, Like they start off on the planet. He's rich, he's high class, she's low class. They both want to get into the Imperial Academy. So like they like train from a young age. They get to go to the Imperial Academy. The Death Star blows up. They have friends on the Death Star. He's off on another mission. She's on a Star Destroyer. Death Star blows up, and he's like, his group is like, oh snap. So it's like during that time when like the Death Star is blown up. So it's in between 4 and 5. So it's like that no man's land where they're like, we need help. Like they're stuck on this planet, and they're like, yeah, we need to get out of here. We need help. How are we gonna? We need to be reinforced and everything. And it's like, well, the Empire like kind of like doesn't care, and so like he's like, screw this, I'm leaving the Empire. And then he finds his way into the Resistance or to the Rebellion. So he becomes a pilot in the Rebellion, and she's rising through the ranks of the Empire. And so, like, they're on Hoth. She sees him flying. He does like, she's manning a gun or whatever, and he does a certain maneuver. And she's like, wait, that's the maneuver that we used to do. And so she's like, oh, shoot. So she knows that he's still alive. And then he realizes that she's still alive. They meet back on their home planet again, and it's gone to crap. And he's like, yeah, this is what the Empire does. They turn these planets, like this was a nice prospering planet at the beginning of the book, into now it's just like a factory planet. And it's like, this is what they do. And it's like so good. And I'm just like, because like it ends up being like, he is like, ends up being like gold 4 or something like that. He's like really high up there. And then she's like the captain of a Star Destroyer. And her Star Destroyer is the destroyer that crash lands on Jakku.
Oh, nice.
And I'm just like, that's a good...
What book is that one?
Lost Stars. It's by Claudia
Lost
Gray.
Stars. Nice. No, that sounds
I'll send you a copy for Christmas.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
No,
we got your Christmas card, by the way.
Oh, good.
Remy was super excited. He was like, what's this? We're like, that's for Taco Bell. And he was like, ooh, can I have it? We're like, yes, it's for you.
Like, I only remember because I was like, well, I know at Taco Bell, because you guys have your dietary thing. And I'm like, you can have all kinds of yummy rice and beans and stuff.
Well, yeah. Well, it's because Brittany and I both like diarrhea. So that's our dietary need.
I mean,
so
who doesn't? Nice. I mean, sometimes you just got to get it out, man.
Got to cleanse the system.
Yeah. Like, I do like because it's also like a game, because you're like, okay, if I eat this Taco Bell, I've got like at most 35 minutes.
Oh God, that's you must have a very long intestinal tract if you've got 35 minutes.
I mean, it's definitely one of those, like, you can never eat Taco Bell out. Like, there were people when I were like at my big corporate job, and they were like, yeah, let's get some Taco Bell. And I was like, y'all are insane. It is noon. I still have work to do. I'm here till 5.
It's like people going to get drinks. You're like, you know, we still aren't done with work, right? This is a lunch break. You have to go back to work after this.
I can't spend the rest of, the day in the toilet.
Although it would be nice. For me. Right? They're going to ask. No, they'll all be in there with you.
Yeah. So like I those type of shows, my goodness, I got something in my eye. Those type of shows, like I like books and everything where it's just like, these are normal people. I love the normal people stuff. Like normal people in Star Wars. Like, give me that. Give me all of that. Heck, if they decided to do Rebels and just be like, here's a live action Ezra.
Yeah,
or is it,
for sure.
Is it Ezra or Ezrin?
Ezra.
Yeah, sorry. Ezrin is Dragon Prince. Sorry.
Oh, nice. Well, and it's so I think that's one of the things that Mandalorian got incredibly right, was utilizing places or characters that felt familiar but weren't, like with the IG droid. Like it's IG-11, it's not IG-88, but it's obviously familiar enough to us that we're like, oh, and I'm excited to see this character in action, as opposed to just standing on the bridge of a Star Destroyer because it was only a skeletal structure. It wasn't something that was made to be able to move. So I like that. I like the utilization of
Mr. Star Wars fans. He was in 2 scenes.
Yeah, because his carcass is tucked in the side of the friggin' Jabba's palace. Yeah. But no, it's like utilizing an Ugnaught, right? And having it be able to speak basic and communicate. And, it talks about his servitude and how he eventually got his freedom. I like that. I like that they've Even my favorite episode so far has been the one that they do the prison break. I don't know if you've watched this one yet.
I'm completely caught up, dude. Like I love it.
Yeah, so I think it's episode 5 or 6. 6. Okay,
because 7 is the only one that we've got a like, and that was my problem with the show. It was like it was all kind of like Monster of the Week type of thing.
Yeah.
And then this one, I was like, I really want them to give me like some sort of like stakes, because like that's one thing that the show hasn't really had. It hasn't had stakes,
right?
Like it's just like, I mean, it's gonna be fine. And then this one, I was like, oh, we've killed the character, we've got stakes again.
Well, but it was, the stakes were, where's he gonna go next, and how's he gonna keep the child safe? And now it is, oh, he's lost the child. Now what do we do? I think that there is something that, obviously, because this is the penultimate episode, right? Once we get to next week, Fridays, when we get the finale for season 1 of The Mandalorian. So they're going to have to tie it up to some degree. And now you've just introduced the Grand Moff for the series.
Giancarlo Esposito. Mr.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I was like, bro, he's going to have chicken.
Yeah, what is it? Pollos Hermanos or whatever.
Pollos Hermanos. Yeah. I was like, cool. I hated his mustache though. That's ugly as sin.
Yeah.
I was like, take that off.
Well, but he's an Imperial, so he's allowed. It's like the dude that had mutton chops in freaking Rebels.
Yeah, but that's true.
I think what Mandalorian has done exceptionally well is something that sometimes we haven't seen enough of in some of the other films. So I will be excited to have them extrapolate some of that and bring it on into whatever the future is. It seems like Bob Iger has pulled back a little bit on how much they actually want to release, because they do want to keep the mystery, the suspense, the interest alive. But I think for like true Star Wars fans, not the ones that just want to come on to complain, but I think the ones that actually enjoy being brought back into that universe, I think we'll be happy with whatever comes out. And the stuff that we don't like, we just won't watch it. I mean, I haven't watched all the seasons of Rebels. It took me forever to get through Clone Wars, and it's not because it was bad. It's just it didn't pique my interest, or it took a while for me to find the proper reason to be able to sit through it. But to be fair, I watched Peaky Blinders I watched like the first 3 episodes 4 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, and told Brittany oh, you should watch this with me. I think you'd really enjoy it. And then it wasn't until I was on baby leave that we marathoned all the seasons. So sometimes it just has to be right place, right time. Yeah. And I think for some people, especially coming out of Last Jedi, they're not in the right place yet.
Yeah. Quick question. Was that okay? So the alien thing that's making the Nightlight, who I guess made the Knight of Ren outfits and is fixes Kylo's mask. Is that a Yoda species thing? Because it had the ears, and
no, it was that was Caesar from War of the Planet of the Apes.
That was the part that was throwing me, because the bottom half looked all right. It's just that nose bit looked weird, and I was like, did Yoda's nose ever do something like that, or could it be because of the helmet that he was forced to have on?
Yeah, to me, it looked very primate in the way that it was designed, but yeah, I mean,
the ears that were it was the ears that were throwing me, and I was just like,
right.
Well, I think that would be kind of cool too if they were like, oh yeah, this Yoda species, they're very force adept, but maybe one of them can turn to the dark side. Right.
Well, I that's what I liked about the prequels, with the Jedi Council being made up of multiple different species. I thought that was really interesting, and I liked Yaddle, good old Yaddle. I liked that they broadened that out a bit more, like in the beginning sequence where they're on the Millennium Falcon, and you've got this giant slug-like thing doing something. I'm not exactly sure what he was there for, but just having another non-human character there makes the universe feel so much bigger. When they go to Maz Kanata's castle in Force Awakens, you get into you get into that main room, and they do the camera pan as they follow the Shivastanian Wolfman as he's walking through the crowd. I love that kind of stuff. I love that you're reminded that this isn't just a bunch of humans and a big furry, walking carpet.
I did like in Mandalorian where it's been like at most like 10 years between episode 4 and The Mandalorian.
I think they said, oh yeah, from episode 4. Yeah, I think
so
they said 8 to 10 years.
Been like, so like we'll say at most 10 years, and they go to Tatooine, and it is no longer. It's now run by droids.
Droids,
I was like,
that's
a good callback. I like that. They're just like the droids, just like burp, 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 we're just gonna walk in now. I was like, cool. Yep. I like it.
How the times have changed.
It's like that's what happens. You get your arm cut off, and they're like, oh, well, that's insurance. I gotta sell.
Well, that and
like 2 dead bodies.
Well, I would hope that part of the reason why 3PO has a red arm in The Force Awakens was because he helped overtake Wooher's bar in the cantina. I think that would be pretty BA.
That would be great. Okay, so what would you give Last Jedi? If you were to rank it out of 5.
Out of 5, honestly, I'd probably give it 5. Like when Brittany and I walked out of the theater, like Brittany, Remy, and I went and saw it opening night, 6 o'clock p.m., loaded up on popcorn and soda. And when we walked out of there, like I was on cloud 9. Like I said before, it gave me everything that you want to see in a Star Wars film. I wish that the beginning maybe they had paced it a little better at the beginning. But I'd say before this one, Rogue One was hands down my favorite. I liked Rogue One more than I liked Force Awakens, and definitely more than I liked The Last Jedi. And I liked Solo more than I liked The Last Jedi. So I think with this one, like I said, it gave me all the stuff that I really, really wanted. With Rogue One, I was really hoping for Chirrut to be a Jedi. I wanted, instead of his, bow staff, bow and arrow thing that he had, I really wanted him at that final battle sequence to whip out a lightsaber. And you're just like, he was a Jedi. That's why he could do all this cool stuff.
His staff is just like, he's just like, oh, well, it's time. And he like flicks it off and is just holding like a little bit, and it's like, boom, it's a double lightsaber.
I honestly, or even if it was, he had the staff, but at the end of the staff, a lightsaber blade came out.
Even
so
like
it's just
he
had
a
different,
like a little bitty lightsaber. It's like,
yeah, honestly, anything like that, I think
like
it would have been that fun. Oh wow, that's a nice call out. But I think that it would have been a nice little nod to the fans. But I understand trying to keep this away from Jedi influence, like trying to make it a story that doesn't need a Jedi to make it interesting.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think with this one, it gave us everything. And man, it gave me Dennis Lawson. I love Wedge Antilles. Like I love him in the movies.
That was really nice. I was like, Wedge.
Yeah,
if only
in the books,
Gold
he's even
Leader
better.
Come back.
Right? No. Yeah, or in pieces. But no, with Wedge Antilles, if you guys ever are into the books and you want to read the Rogue Squadron series, it's still hands down my favorite book series in all of the expanded universe.
Yeah.
What about for you? What would you rate this one?
I'm gonna give this a solid 4.
Nice.
A solid 4.
That's high for you.
Yeah, like for a Star Wars film, that's very high for Josh.
Nice.
I talked about the gripes that I had about it. To me, though, like there's a lot more of the good that I actually enjoyed about this film. Like in the shots, there were some really good shots. Like that transition scene, like when like basically whenever Rey and Kylo are having their cool little like where like what did he call them? Like the Emperor calls them something special. Like he calls them like they're almost like they're bonded.
Yeah.
Like whenever they share that Force bond, like I love all of those. Like I love them in Last Jedi. I love them in this movie. They're more in depth. There's also a really nice shot when the little ragtag rebel fleet is attacking the Star Destroyers. There's a shot. They're behind a Star Destroyer. There's the blue of the engine, and you just see like the little silhouettes of the fighters just like going through the blue before it transitions to like all the ties coming out. And I was just like, that's a damn cool scene right there. Like if you could get me a poster of that, just like that,
I'll take it.
Like right there with all the little silhouettes, I was like, damn, that's a cool shot. I liked the First Order like gunners. I thought those guys looked pretty cool.
Oh
with their little
like their
red helmets. I was like, bro. I did like how they have kind of like evolved, because like remember the first two guys, like those poor dudes in the first Death Star who's like,
I wish I had a rail here.
and they're just like, we don't even have earmuffs. We're looking at this without goggles, safety protection.
This is an energy ray that can destroy an entire planet, but we are standing
right
meters away from it.
They like goo, right? And I like these other guys that are just like, yeah, we're gonna be on the bridge now. Like, you guys know that we can fire this like from here. We don't have to like be basically outside. And that's another thing, like those guys are outside. Like, is there like a little bitty force field or something like connecting them? Because like they're just like out in space basically.
Yeah, I think that when you kind of touched on it perfectly, right? Where the things that you would gripe about were almost inconsequential. Where you're like, okay, well, they're so minuscule, and there was so much good in this movie that that's why I could easily see that a 4 to 5 star ranking or dippers or.
Yeah, I mean, I would give it a 4.5 if I did the 0.5s because like it's almost perfect for me. There's again the little bitty gripes, but again, like I would have killed more characters, but I would have killed everybody in The Force Awakens. Like I would have have all of our original characters from the first trilogy. I would have them on the Millennium Falcon. I would blow it up. And I'd be like, done. That's what
starting
I would have
from
done.
Scratch.
Like exactly,
right.
like just completely start from scratch. Be like, in a freak spacer accident, the Millennium Falcon was destroyed with all hands. Sorry, everybody. Like I would have been fine with that. So
well. I think my biggest gripe for Force Awakens is the fact that we never got the original trilogy characters to meet up. We did get the Han, Luke, and Leia meet up. I mean, ultimately, we didn't really get it in this one either. But it was,
Luke
I think
and
for
Leia
me, that
met up twice. Both times.
Twice.
When
as
Luke is
ghosties.
dead.
Yeah, exactly. We get the little cameo with Han, which was really cool for him to not be like, oh, he's a Force ghost, but it was like, no, this is Ben Solo's memory of his dad, and it's how the conversation could have gone had Ben being manipulated.
Yeah, I like it, and it's literally almost the exact same conversation, and I loved that. Like, just like, I don't think I can do it, and he's like, you can't. That was one of the things that was very surprising to me, that they got Harrison Ford back into being in another Star Wars. They were like, Mr. Ford, we'll give you a bunch of money. We just need you for like maybe 5 minutes of screen time. And he's like, don't make me blue. It's like,
pretty much.
I'll be in it, but I'm not going to be a Force ghost.
I'm going to wear my own clothes. No, I love that.
I think Levi's and my Converse. Shoot me from the waist up.
I've got an earring in. It's canon. But no, I love, like, those are the kind of things. Those are the payoffs that I think really make this movie worth it. This is definitely a see it in the theater. This is not a wait till it's out on Disney Plus or wait till it's on Blu-ray. You need to have that full theater experience. And honestly, I would have suggested seeing it opening weekend, because then you're with the crowd that is going to appreciate this movie in the way that you would want them to appreciate it. Everybody in our theater was clapping every time, certain characters were shown on screen. People were hooting and hollering. To me, it was akin to seeing Endgame or Infinity War in the theaters, because our crowd was so excited. Like, I saw Endgame 3 times opening weekend, right? And the first night, everybody was exploding. They were cheering. Everybody was super excited. It was a standing ovation at the end of the movie. And that was Thursday. And then I went and saw it on Friday and Saturday. And the crowds on Friday and Saturday were nowhere near what I got on Thursday night. And I would think it's probably going to be the same thing with this, is that your best opportunity to see it would have been Thursday night, but it's not too late. It's still the the holiday week, the Christmas week. You've got a lot of people that are not in school, so I'd still go and see it. We plan on seeing it because we want to take Eowyn, because we want it to be, because Remy's first movie in the theater was Force Awakens. My first movie in the theater was Return of the Jedi, so I want to make sure that her first movie in the theater is
Star Wars.
Rise of Skywalker. So it has to be Star Wars.
The Friday 9 a.m. crew was like, it was a bunch of kids that you could tell school, like, I guess school ended on either, Wednesday or Thursday. And they were like, we're out of school, but we still woke up early because we're set like that right now. So like these kids may have been like maybe seniors, maybe juniors. I can't tell because like, but they were young, like ha ha ha, we're on the basketball team, kids. You know, like it was a group of friends that I sat here and they all sat next to me, and I'm sitting there and like I'm sitting next to this one kid and he starts crying and I'm just like, bro, I understand. It's okay, man. Like when Leia dies, he's just like, I was just like, oh man. And then like when we watched it today, there was a girl next to me, and then there was another girl over there, like next to her, who was like arming and everything. Like when Rey and Kylo are doing their thing, and like you think Rey's dead, and then Kylo's hand like pips up. She's like, yes, and then he like stumbles over, and he's like holding her, and she's like, yes, like she's knowing that it, you know, something's about to happen, and so like he brings her back, and she's like. And then they kiss, and she was like, and then I was like, just wait. Just wait. And then he dies, and she's like, what? And I'm just like,
it was right there.
I was just like, it tickled me so much. I'm like, I can watch this. I'm gonna like, so I'm like kind of watching in my peripherals. I'm just kind of like, okay, here it comes. Here it comes. He's gonna smile and laugh. And then he's gonna just drop dead, and I'm just like watching her, and it happens, and she's just like, oh! I'm just like, I thought that was great. The only good love story in this Star Wars, well, the second one, Poe and Zori,
right?
OTP.
No, the
Poe and Finn.
Was it when we saw Civil War? There was we ended up having to sit up towards the front because it was before our theater had assigned seats in it, and the girl that was next to me was losing her mind the entire movie. Like literally was no, don't go in there. No, don't do that. Oh, watch out behind you. Like the whole, like just completely losing it. And especially the little fight between, Bucky, Steve and Tony at the end. She was just, I don't think she was going to make it. Like she was probably late teens, young 20s, but I was like, this girl's going to have a heart attack. She's going to have a heart attack and die right next to me.
Oh, man.
And there's nothing I'm going to be able to do because I'm trying to watch this movie.
It's like, we're not going to call anybody until afterwards.
Right. I'm going to wait till the credits are over because there's always a post-credit scene. So she's just going to have to hold on.
I did like how there was like that one, that one song on like that cool, like, Festival Planet that was written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like I'm sitting there in the credits and I'm like, it gets to like almost the very, very end of the credits. And I was like, I don't know what I was doing. I think I was talking to Gavin and I looked up at the thing and it was like Bada Kapu or something weird. It was like by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And I was like, wait, what? Lin-Manuel Miranda? Like, what did he? But I think Gavin told me, he's like, yeah, he's like the head of like music or something weird at Disney, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's basically like the oh man, why am I blanking on their names? The guys that wrote all the songs for Disney, like the brothers that did the music for like Mary Poppins.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah,
which makes sense because
Richard and Robert. Yeah.
So did you guys see any cool previews?
No, all the previews were awful and they took entirely too long.
Bro.
Like our movie started at 6:50, was supposed to start at 6:15 and started at 6:45. I'm cool with like 15, 20 minutes of previews, but when it gets to like 30 minutes of previews, it's way too long.
That's my problem with like AMC is okay. They'll give you like 8.
Well, we had Regal.
Yes.
And they totally abused
that was
the
the first one I went to. It was like Regal, and it was just like my movie started at 9. It was like 9:30 and I was like, but the movie, please, like, give me the, like I did get In the Heights, which was pretty cool. Like, I'm gonna go see In the Heights.
We got Mulan, which I was definitely, we had seen the trailer on Twitter, but it was just still super epic seeing on the big screen.
Spies in Disguise looks really good. Like Remy
wants to see that. That's probably one that I'll sit out and I'll let Brittany take him while I'm.
I'll
at
drive
work
up
or
to
something.
Fresno. I'll take Remy to go see Spies in Disguise.
There you go. You guys can have a mandate.
Because I'm like, that may be my animated film of the year. Because like there hasn't really been anything good. Like to me, like I thought Frozen 2 was cool. It was pretty, but like story wise, it was flat for me. I did like. Okay, so here's the thing. So I've been noticing a lot of people calling Kristoff's like his 80s ballad, like his boy band, like a boy band song, and I'm like, that's not a boy band song. That's a ballad. Like he did a rock ballad. Like guys, that's what that is. Like that is like REO Speedwagon and Whitesnake. Come on, guys, that is what this is. And they're like, it's a boy band, and I'm like, no. During the credits, like the people that I was sitting next to, they were talking like, yeah, I liked his boy band song, and I just wanted to be like, it's not a boy band. Just stop. Like
You're making me angry.
Like just
Knock
because there's multiple like people doesn't mean that it's a boy band. Like
right.
Like get out of here, kids today.
It's their first day. Yeah, it's their first day. You got to cut them some slack.
Jeez. What would you give The Mandalorian?
Oh, like in terms of rank, like rating? Yeah. Oh, definitely. That's a solid five. With Rise of Skywalker, like you could argue for a 4.5 or a 5, but with Mandalorian, man, that's solid. Even maybe it is episode 5, which was too bad because that was the one that had Ming-Na Wen in it. I really wanted that one to be so good, but the dude that's the kid of that actor that was like the other bounty hunter,
he
was so bad.
Yeah,
he was the worst. I swear that had to have been a favor casting.
Yeah,
where it was like we owe somebody.
He was the worst part of that thing, and I'm just like, this could have been so good. Like, and I was watching bring Ming-Na back because I'm like,
oh, they have
just
to
throw her in a back to tank, she'll be fine.
Yeah, well, there was the boots that somebody finds her and takes her with them. So like they're not just going to take the body. She's still got to be alive. But no, that kid, and I'm not saying that the story wasn't good because the story was good. Like I get the point of like, here's a blossoming bounty hunter who's trying to get into the guild. Like here's a Mandalorian, a renowned bounty hunter. Like, yes, why wouldn't he idolize and kind of fawn over you? But this kid was, like every delivery, I thought I was watching like a Disney, like made for TV movie from like the late 90s. Like it was just horrendously bad. Yeah. And it did kind of take me out of the series a little bit, and I was really hoping that Ming-Na Wen's character was going to kill him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, when he was getting closer, I was just like, oh, please just like have like a knife in your boot or something. Like do a cool flip and like take him out, man.
Yeah, I was like, this kid's not even a full-fledged bounty hunter yet, and you are an experienced assassin, and you can't take him out. Like, why would you throw that little throwing blade at his blaster? Like, should have been in his neck.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? So I don't know. That was probably the one that I was not super pumped out about. But the first 3 were super good. The fourth one where they have to take out the ATST was awesome.
Yeah.
The sixth,
Seven
Remote Planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I loved. The heist movie in episode 6, or Remy calls it season 6.
That was great.
Bill Burr, oh my god, dude, so good, and he's just playing himself basically because it's exactly when he calls him a wise ass. I was like, okay, well that's just Bill Burr. So.
I thought he killed Clancy Brown's character though.
Oh yeah, the Deveronian.
When I was like. Oh snap!
Oh wow!
Like Mandalorian, like because like at first I was like, okay, he's gonna do something, kind of be like he's gonna like push him out or something, and then he did. There was like, and I was like, oh, he killed Clancy Brown. I was like, oh no!
Well, I love when he unleashed the flamethrower on him, and he just walks through it smiling
like
I'm a Deveronian. Yeah, there's literally no way. And the best part is that Clancy Brown played Surtur in Thor Ragnarok, the big fire god demon.
No, I did. I didn't like it.
Yeah. No, surprise. But you know who Surtur is. You know who's,
No,
right?
I didn't know who that was. Like, when you said the big fire demon, I was like, oh, yeah, the one at the beginning. And then at the
Yeah,
end.
and the end. Yes. So that was Clancy Brown as well. But I
cool.
definitely thought that he was dead. I definitely thought that he killed Bill Burr. Definitely thought he killed Tonks from freaking Harry Potter.
I was like, please don't kill her 3 times. Like, they kill her in Harry Potter, they kill her in Game of Thrones, and then they kill her in Star Wars.
I'm like, girl can't catch a break. But no, I thought that one was really well done. I could have watched that as a full-fledged movie.
Yeah.
Like, you could have made that a 2-hour film, and I would have watched it with no issue.
I felt bad for that rebel kid, though. I was kind of like, oh.
Oh, yeah, no, that one I felt kind of bad for.
It's bad when you give him a name. Like, if he just would have been like Rebel Trooper, it would have been like, oh, sorry, kid. But the moment he was like, my name is whatever my name is, I was like, oh, new friend for Mandalorian. Cool.
Right?
And then it's like, nope, he did. I'm like, oh.
Well, that and then you're kind of like, well, Mando, it was sort of a dick move to put that tracker on because there's all those other people that also work on that station that just got destroyed by those New Republic fighters. So,
well, they
not
were all
really
like smuggler stations, so.
But still, you know, there's a limit. But obviously, he's a bounty hunter; he doesn't really care. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no,
well,
I'm really excited.
I
think
hunter,
this
he's
is
a very nice bounty hunter.
Well, he just cares about kids because he was once a lost child, so he feels that same connection and resonance with the asset, if you will.
It's got enough humor in it that it's not like forced humor either. Like I did like in episode 4 where like he and what's her face, the rebel girl, they're what is her name?
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune. Well, like when they're fighting,
punching each other,
and she's like pinning him, and he's like, "Want some soup?" Fucking love that, dude. That's like my favorite part. Sorry for swearing. Sorry, Gleam.
Everybody gets
the
one.
one that we had. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. I was saving mine for later.
No. It's okay. We can do it. It can be one of those
I'm
like
good.
the new PG-13s. Have you noticed like some of the new PG-13s? Like there's 2 of them.
Okay, see, and I was having this conversation with Brittany though. Is that I was trying to explain to her how our movies from the 80s and 90s are equal to PG-13 movies now.
Yeah.
So yes, Remy is obviously much younger than 13, but if we'll let him watch PG-13 movies that are coming out now, then he could watch our movies from the 80s and 90s.
As long
she disagrees.
Some of them, you know, they're a little bit much, but I mean, like, yeah, you can have him watch Ghostbusters. That's okay. That's a PG movie. Back to the Future is a PG movie.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make him watch Braveheart like a disemboweled Mel Gibson, but I mean, what was it that I want? I think Terminator. I was like, oh, we should let him watch Terminator, and she was like, no.
I think he would like to. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really bad in it. I mean, there's like a little bit of swearing, like in the.
Yeah.
I mean, the hardest scene may be like the police, like in the police station, because that's.
Right.
And like the milk bit where he like stabs the boyfriend, husband, or whatever, the stepdad in the mouth with the milk. That's a bit much, but but
we usually try to like divert his attention. It'd be the same thing when we were watching like the Marvel Netflix series, and every time Luke Cage is getting it on, or I should say Jessica Jones is getting it on, we're like, "Hey Remy, look over here real quick." We try to like distract him. So we're terrible parents.
Die Hard would be okay.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, there's a lot of bullets and shooting and whatnot.
Yeah, but
and
I mean,
really
he
the only
watches
new
Star Wars where it's lasers everywhere.
True, but for some reason that feels less lethal.
Yeah, you're right. Because like, no. I was like, so a question, like, so when Kylo got stabbed, right?
Right.
There's like blood on his uni, and I kind of don't get that. Shouldn't that have like fully cauterized?
Well, no, it is cauterized. Like you could see
but there's a little there's a little bit of stuff like where the hole was.
I would have thought that just like singed. You know what I mean? Like that's just the cloth and the skin all being singed.
Possibly, it looked like the same, and it may have just been like a makeup, transfer that possibly happened. But like to me, I was looking at it, I was like, There's also a scene where. Like he's got the when he's attacking those dudes in the forest at the beginning of the movie, when he like lifts one up, but he's like lifting him up like with his lightsaber, and I'm like,
no, he's lifting him up with the scabbard part.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he stabbed him with the short blade, and he's lifted him
that
up.
makes more sense because like I saw that and I was like, it looks cool, but I was like, shouldn't that have like cut
Wouldn't he just
through
put
that
him in
guy?
half? Yeah, ideally it would have, but it's, Star Wars movie. They pick and choose when things want to do what we believe them to do.
I do like it. I also really liked Rey's I liked her new lightsaber. I thought that was pretty dope.
Well, now we've put yellow as a cannon blade for light side users, and
because Plo Koon's was orange, right?
No, his was blue.
I thought he had an
His
orange
was blue.
one.
No, the only person that had in the prequels, the only person that had a different lightsaber, at least in the films, other than blue and green, was just Mace Windu. Everybody else's was all blue and green. We didn't start seeing multicolored lightsabers other than in like the video games and referenced in the books and whatnot, I think until Clone Wars. I think Clone Wars was when they started introducing like yellow and orange lightsabers. And then in Rebels, they expanded on that where the
With
Temple
the
Guardians had like,
and everything.
Was the black vibro blades, but in Rebels, the Temple Guardians had like a silvery white lightsaber blade. But now we have yellow. I always chose orange, like when I was playing Jedi Knight and Dark Forces and whatnot. When Kyle Katarn, when you could change your lightsaber blade, I always made it orange. But that's a Syracuse reference. So.
I think maybe it was just the toy, because I remember the toy. His lightsaber was orange, and
the one that
may have just been
the one that we have. I feel like the one that we had it was blue, because I bought a whole bunch of Episode 1 toys from Walmart when I started at Coca-Cola as a merchandiser. Because they were clearanced out at like $250 per figure, so I just bought a whole bunch of them. And I want to say the Plo Koon one that I have it's the one where he has the armor pieces that you can put on him, but he came with a blue lightsaber. Because the only green saber we have is Qui-Gon Jinn's and Yoda's. Sorry, so Qui-Gon Jinn's and Yoda's are the only two that we have.
Maybe it was the comics. It may have been the comics
where he has an orange one randomly.
Orange one.
That would be dope. I would love to see like a more rainbow spectrum when it comes to lightsaber utilization. Because you got to figure, well, yeah, because the blade's color is dictated by the gem that you use, the Coruscant gem that you put into the hilt itself. So you almost don't know what color the blade's going to be until you ignite it, because it depends on how the crystals align.
Well, when you go to build your lightsaber canonically. And it comes in that little tube. If you hold it up to the light at Disneyland and you can't see through it, that means you got one of the black ones. And they only put like X amount of black ones out during the day. Never mind.
Well, yeah, because isn't that like the big thing where it's like there's only one out of every 500 or something like that?
So that was like the cheat. Like you could go into the red ones. And like if you held it up and you could see through it, it was a regular red one. But if you held it up to the light and you couldn't see through it, that was the black one, and that's the special one.
Easy to find.
And it's not technically cheating or whatever. It's just like, yoink, is mine.
Look what I found.
Yeah, it's not like a Harry Potter, the one chooses you thing. Like you pick that crystal. Like
yeah, you find it. You find the one you want.
Liam, this was fun. We should do this again sometime.
I know. It's been like, oh God, I don't even remember the last time I was on. Probably the last time there was a Star Wars movie that came out.
Yeah. No, because we yelled about something.
We usually do.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Was it Marvel? Did we yell about Marvel? Because you don't usually watch anything Marvel.
Was it Incredibles 2?
May have been. Yeah, it might have been.
Too. Ugh. Anyway.
Wow, that was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. So far away that we pretend not to remember it.
Right.
So Liam, where can everybody find you, social media and podcast wise?
Oh, perfect. So you can, as always, find me at HYLT Radio if you'd like to tune into our Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars podcast. But it's HYLT, as in Here You Leave Today Radio on Twitter and Instagram. If you'd like to follow me individually, you can find me at Liam Bright. Also on Twitter and Instagram. And as I said, I'm the host, or I co-host HYLT Radio with my wife, and then sometimes with our son Remy. I also co-host American Hammers Radio, which is a West Ham United podcast for those that are soccer fans or football fans, if you will. And then I also randomly do a show called This Story Sucks with my best buddy Tim, who is a voiceover artist and actor that I've known for like the last 15 some odd years, who still lives in New York. But we do that where we just rant about whatever topic we want to complain on.
Nice. And we'll put all those in the show notes if you want to follow Liam, follow the shows. Check those out. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh L. Kane. You can find the podcast on Instagram at Animation Station Podcast, on Twitter at Animate Podcast. All of our episodes available, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and on our website, animationstationpodcast.com. Liam, thanks again for coming.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
All right, so for the Animation Station Podcast, I'm Josh.
I'm Liam.
Bye, everybody. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Try to make the world a better place.
A better place? Yeah, you remembered.
Bye-bye, God, it's been a while since I've done the Bye-bye Little Butterfly.
Man, it has been a bit. And can you change your Twitter and Instagram to Josh L, like EL Kane? Because you do have a little bit of Spanish in your bloodline.
Yeah.
And then that translates to Josh the Kane,
Josh
which
the
is
Kane.
it's pretty badass.
Josh the Kane. You could. No.